Holy crap. Holy crap. I just got back from the theaters watching Chainsaw Man the movie, Reze Arc, and I'm just going to say it. What absolute cinema. What an absolute joyride that was. I absolutely love the film. Now, it does have quite a bit of a stretch, the early parts, kind of getting you accustomed to the characters again, doing a couple story beats here and there, but at a certain point, when those fireworks go off, things just take off and it doesn't let go. And there's some crazy stuff happening. You may have seen some of it in the trailers, but wow, what an absolute joyride that was. But yes, I'm not new to this particular arc. After the first season did end, which I know, shocker here, I actually enjoyed the first season. I know a lot of people didn't like the first season. I love the first season. After I finished the first season, I immediately jumped in the manga to kind of read a little bit further in. Heard a couple of people say that it's like the best arc coming up, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll check it out. Now, I didn't read the entire arc. I got to the point where they had the little training facility scene, and that was pretty much as far as I went. So there's actually a different experience that I got from the theaters watching this rather than actually reading it. And a lot of that has to do with Reze. Reze wasn't really a character that I felt really sold on when I read the manga. Maybe I read it too fast, I don't know, but I didn't really feel like I liked her character much. But when I watched this film, I think they did a really incredible job of really selling her to me. And it's a lot to do with the fact that there was a lot of extended scenes and whatnot that really kind of get you in the moment with Denji and Reze, which gets into like sort of my spoiler-free review of this entire movie, which I'm going to do spoiler-free, then I'll get to talking about some other stuff, plus my experience with the theater itself, which I know a lot of people are going, Andrew, going to the theater? That's unheard of for anybody new to the channel. I don't really go to theater showings, and that's mainly because we don't have them here. We don't really have them here. But my spoiler-free review is to really kind of dabble into a little bit of what this story arc is kind of getting into. We've kind of already established with the first season that Denji is the type of person that doesn't really have much experience with women. And this movie is opening up with Denji having a date with Makima. And it kind of gets in a little bit into sort of Denji and if he has a heart or not, if he can experience emotions and whatnot. It kind of goes to this whole segment where they go through all these theaters and nothing's really hitting him. And it really does get into the idea of, do I even have a heart to really feel sorrow or love or anything like that? Until eventually, yes, Denji meeting Reze. The center focus of the movie itself, which is Reze. I mean, she's literally in the title. This individual that Denji falls head over heels for and constantly has this struggle whether he's going to stay faithful to Makima or is he going to go for Reze, who's really, really freaking cute. It's going into that whole thing, that struggle that he himself is having, that idea of faithfulness and what love is. Little Denji, who is supposed to be Makima's puppy, is not being very faithful, right? I do get a kick out of one of the very first interactions that Denji has with Reze. She literally says, "You look like my dog." You look like my dog. But no, it was a really good little setup here. I think it does sort of play into the quirkiness that is Denji. Denji's always been, for me, a character that's sort of an oddball because of what he's gone through in his life. He doesn't really experience things like people do. I've never gone to school. I don't know what love is. I want this thing and not this thing. I've never had experience with this thing. I've never been able to do this thing right here. He's very much an anomaly. And Reze sees that. Reze sees that, like, holy crap, everybody goes to school. Why are you doing this whole thing right here when you should be going to school? You haven't experienced this, haven't experienced this. Let me give you those experiences. And it sort of plays in that to kind of build in their relationship. And like I said before, I read it in the manga and yes, it has all these scenes. They're in the manga. I'm not saying the manga doesn't present this. I didn't really feel that much of a connection with Reze until I watched the film. And I think a lot of that has to do with the performances of the seiyuu. Reina Ueda did an absolutely phenomenal job with her character. Just an absolutely beautiful voice to give to Reze's character. I will admit that I was a little bit bummed that, yes, the showing that I seen was subtitled. And this is probably like my biggest warning to people. If you're going to go watch this film, unless you have really good eyesight, don't watch it with subtitles. This is Crunchyroll's new piss poor subtitles. I'm talking like worse than what you'll see on Crunchyroll right now. It is white text, no stroke around it, no black outline around the letters, a very small black shadowing to it. In a lot of the light scenes, especially like the opening segment, which is in black and white, it's very difficult to see the text. So if you're going to watch this in theaters, I recommend watching it in English dub. I know the purist out there, it's going to be difficult, but it was a struggle to read. For me, it was a struggle to read. Very, very poor choices in subtitling. Not that it's unreadable. Even for my eyesight, it was still readable, but I also admit that I knew the story, so I didn't have to read most of the subtitles. I understood what they were saying here and there, so I didn't really need to actually read it, but that's a massive slip up for them. But anyways, going back, I did really love Reze's character. I really did fall in love with her very quickly. I felt for Denji very, very quickly. Like, this girl is coming on real hard, and she's super cute, and she just has a really fun little personality that you just want to hang out with. Denji constantly going to the restaurant that she's at over and over again because this girl is just... she's captivating me. That stuff was fantastic. Outside of Reze herself, I was really surprised that we got a lot more into Angel than I remember. Angel being this individual that's able to essentially draw the life out of people. Dabbling a little bit into their backstory, finding out about their power itself, how that's technically tied in with Aki as they're now partnered up with Aki. Their little time spent together was pretty solid. And getting a little bit into Aki's trauma and why they eventually may want to partner up with Angel, despite the two of them not really getting along, despite the two of them not wanting to get along. And finally, Beam. Beam. I completely scrubbed Beam from my mind. I don't even remember much of him when I read this little segment. But my gosh, first impressions were not good with Beam. So essentially, yes, Power has to stay with Makima for a little bit. And in order for Denji to have a partner, Makima assigns him Beam. And Beam is this shark guy. And my gosh, he was so obnoxious when he first shows up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the screaming character from Demon Slayer. Why is this character here? He's so obnoxious. Chainsaw-sama! 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 Oh my gosh, he's obsessed with Denji. And he's so freaking obnoxious. But I loved him by the end. And it's not because I like Beam. It's because I like Beam and Denji. Beam and Denji are similar to Denji and Power, and the idea that Denji and Power work so well because they're both absolute dorks. Beam works with Denji. Why? Because they're both absolute dorks. They're two Chinubios that somehow feel each other. Now, I think Denji's more of a dork. Power's very much a chuny, and Beam's very chuny. So when you have like the crazy mind and what Beam is thinking about, which he seems like he knows way too much, what he seems to think about when he thinks about Denji, he gives that to Denji, and Denji takes it and runs with it. Here, Chainsaw-sama, you could do all this crazy stuff. And then Denji goes, let's try it. And they do it, and it's freaking epic. Like, it just turns into the stupidest thing possible. The craziest fight tactics you could possibly think of, they're doing it. Why? Because why not? And it literally made the last part of the entire film. I was like, I love these two. This is so stupid. You have literally people off the side going, what the hell are you doing, Denji? What exactly are you doing? And it worked. It made that entire later segment of this film just absolute chef kiss. And yes, technically, again, in the manga itself, this creator thinks outside the norms. And I think that's what makes it work so well. It's what I love so much about the first season. It's what I loved about reading into this particular arc in the manga. And I love seeing it in film format, especially with like the insane work that Mappa did to put this all together. I was very pleased with it. I think it was just fantastic. The work they put into Reze and Denji's interactions. There's a lot of the scenes at the school that were just absolute chef kiss. The portrayal of each scene, the emotion, the perspective shots, everything was just on all full cylinders. I think my only really big criticism of season 1 was the excessive use of CGI. I didn't really get that with this movie. I didn't really feel any point I'm like, that's CGI. It just looked so crisp. Everything kind of fit together. There was only a few points that was a little off-putting. There was one particular scene where Beam jumps out of the ground and starts kind of freaking out, and it looked like it was like a frame per second, and it just looked off. There's a few points where either Denji or the bomb is actually talking, and it looks like it's just like da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It doesn't look like the mouth is moving. It just looks like a, back and forth between being open or closed. It just looked very jarring. But I mean, other than like those little two snippets, the rest of this hour and 45 minutes was just pure epic. Pure epic. Absolutely loved it. Music was just on point. The voice acting was on point. Everything just played out so perfectly. Like I said, it was a joyride. Like I said before, going from the point where that firework goes off, it just grabs you. You have a character do something really cool that maybe fall in love with that character, and then just doesn't let go from that point on. Just all these little points where suddenly you have that tension building up, somebody says boom, and then suddenly just crap hits the fan, and you're going, holy crap, what's going to happen next? It's absolutely brutal, doesn't hold back. There's a lot of, a lot of adult themes in here as well that I was really kind of surprised that, again, they were, allowed to kind of go through with. And I think it's probably why they kept it to a film rather than do a TV series or whatever. This will probably get cut up into a web series or something like that, or an O&A at some point. But for now, I'm glad that I watched it. I'm really glad I'm watching it. Which gets into like sort of my experience here, because yes, there's a lot of people questioning Andrew. You don't usually go to theaters. Yes, my channel's not really known for having like theater reviews. And that's really because I never have them around here. Like typically whenever I look for certain films that I really badly want to watch, I look them up online. The closest one I typically have for a theater is like 4-hour drive away. So it's literally like overall with the film itself and then coming back, it's literally a 10-hour ordeal. I just don't have that investment to be able to do that. It's just something that I would love to do, but I can't. Thankfully, when I was doing a live stream, some people were mentioning, hey, you're going to watch the film. Holy crap, everybody's loving it. I'm like, I don't usually have them around here. But I just randomly decided, let me go ahead and check, let's see if maybe somewhere's close by. And I was shocked. I actually had something that was decently close by that I can get to and go watch it. So I was happy about that. Credits to, I guess, Sony or somebody for, making sure it's got a wide availability. Typically, we don't get a lot of this stuff here. So that was really awesome. But no, I went there and I really quickly found out why there's no films around here. The closest theater that I found, thankfully they had it, but I was the only person in there. Now, again, this is the subtitled version. I'm assuming that potentially the dub version, the English dub version, potentially had more people viewing it. But the subtitled version, I was the only person there. So I'm like, well, that explains why they don't have anime films here often. They know their audience around here. That was good for me in the end, because like I go in there and I'm like, shoot, I could just choose whatever chair I want. No, I'm not really feeling this anymore. Or, there's a crick in my neck. I guess I'll go sit over here so I can, change positions. It was nice to have pretty much the theater to yourself, but it was a good experience in the end. Like I said, the only real negative I have is the fact that its subtitles were so absurdly small, white with no stroke, very subtle shadowing given to it. And even then, it was very blurry to the actual image itself. So it kind of blended in, mostly hard subbed into the actual show itself, which you can sort of get a sense there because of how it blends in. But other than that, it was a really good experience. Really enjoyed the film. Absolutely suggest it to everybody. If you're a big fan of Chainsaw Man, you don't even need me to say it. You probably already watched it. If you're a person that really didn't like the first season, I highly recommend checking out the film, because it might change your perspective on it. Because I think a lot of people that have had their mind changed by watching the compilation, where they kind of redid a lot of the scenes and whatnot from the first season into films, it might change your perspective. And I think there's a big change in how they sort of portrayed the story and really help with the pacing and everything. I think it really flowed well, besides maybe the beginning parts, which again kind of meanders a little bit. It's very much so a very more personal story to Denji and kind of tugs at the heartstrings quite a bit. That all said, though, I do want to talk a little bit about spoilers, because there's a couple things in here that I did want to kind of discuss. So if you are, new to the series, you haven't watched the film yet, or you want to watch the film, don't want spoilers, definitely turn off now. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm trying to be a little bit more loose on my review than I typically are. I didn't want to go for like a strict little outline here, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. But getting into the spoilers itself, the couple things that I do want to get into. Again, like I said before, I did read the manga up until the point where Reze arrives at the training facility that Aki was at. Which, by the way, that was probably one of the best scenes. The fact that she comes up there, blows off her head after she gets mold in her lungs, just takes the head, chucks it inside. I got Ajin flashbacks. For those that have not watched or read Ajin, there's this whole segment where the guy's trying to get inside this facility. And since he can sort of rebuild his body from like shredded self, he decides to throw himself in a wood chipper and like have it like put into fried chicken or something like that, and then have it delivered into the facility. So I had that in my mind as that whole segment came in. How do you get yourself into a facility you're not supposed to be in? Well, just chop yourself up and throw yourself inside. But no, just her head rolling in there and her going boom and it just explodes. Was so well done. I just love it. I think it adds so much having Reina Ueda's voice in there, just how like very cute she is, having that little boom, and it, not even ending the boom, just and it just explodes. Good stuff. But I read up to that point, so everything beyond there was very new to me. So obviously, the very end, I didn't know about. I didn't know about the very end, which does kind of trouble me because, yes, Denji being such the character that he is, he thinks different than most people. So when I was watching the whole training facility segment, I was losing a lot of like for Reze. And the idea that this chick comes in there, she's after Denji. It doesn't seem like she kills for fun, because there's a lot of cases where somebody that was against her suddenly stops. She doesn't go after them. Yeah, I mean, you had Kobeni. She was in there, and she starts apologizing. I'm presuming that she's still alive. Violence, when he attacked her, he goes, hey, peace out, and she lets him go. She doesn't seem like she's the type that wants to kill. And she often says, hey, just give up Denji and you can walk away. Put him down and walk away. Beam, put him down and walk away. She keeps giving people the opportunity to just walk away. She doesn't want to kill people. So there's a side of me that's like, okay, well, she's only a combatant killer, which sort of does forgive her quite a bit. And the idea that, well, if you don't attack me, I won't attack you back. Everybody that's getting killed is because people are fighting against her. But there is innocence getting involved. But yeah, seeing that she takes out the two guys that Aki knows, just literally rips off their heads, presents them to Aki and everything, I started not liking her. But it was interesting that at the very end, when you have Denji sort of presented with the opportunity to capture her or leave her dead, he restores her. He lets her come back. And she questions, why would you bring me back? Denji's not like everybody else. And she's constantly saying, I could kill you right now. You're so naive. Why would you let me be? It does, of course, imply that Reze did like Denji, and that's what was messing her up. I think it was probably back there when he first gave her the flower that she suddenly kind of fell for him, or at least hesitated enough not to want to follow through with it. Why didn't I attack you when I first seen you? I think it was the flower. I think there is an element of the flower. Or it could have been the fact that he had that stupid dog face. Something in there was outside of her script that she was trying to let his guard down. But in the end, she is a killer, and Denji doesn't really see that. And again, that's what I sort of like about Denji's character, is that he doesn't see the things the way that other people do. Whereas I'm saying, dude, she just literally slaughtered a whole bunch of your allies and a bunch of innocent people in the city. So many people died today. And you're like, hey, peace out, I guess. You know, let's run away together. He doesn't see it the way other people do. He just sees, I like this girl and we had fun together. Let's stay together. He doesn't see it that way. So yes, this is all to build into, of course, the big, like, gut punch at the end, which, again, massive spoilers here. If you're still watching this and you don't want to be spoiled, you shouldn't be watching anymore. At the very end, having Reze, despite wanting to leave, decides to take Denji up on his offer and go back to the restaurant to see him. And as she's on her way there, she ends up running into Makima. Makama's still, like, the most mysterious damn thing in this stupid show. I love her, but I don't like her. I love her, but I hate her. She shows up in front of Reze and talks about the whole country rat versus the city rat thing. I like the country rat, always liking to catch him and everything, playing out like Reze's the country rat that she's got to catch and kill. And then out of nowhere, Angel starts producing weapons and starts throwing them down to kill Reze. And I'm like, well, that was brutal. And it sucks because I'm like, there's a side of me that's thinking, okay, yeah, there's an opportunity here that Reze can get with Denji and the two of them can be happy together. But at the same time, I agree with Makima and in part Angel that they're taking down Reze because Reze just kills a whole crap ton of people. And they're no telling how many more people she gonna kill. She's the bomb devil. This chick's way OP and she needs to be dealt with. So I was conflicted. I was conflicted in the end, but the humanity side of me agrees that Makima had to do that. But yeah, speaking of this whole scene though, Angel is very interesting to me because again, they did reveal that Aki's sword was produced with Angel's powers and that Angel, whenever they do consume the life of people, is able to produce weapons from it, which obviously implies right there that Angel created two spears from taking out somebody. I do kind of wonder if they're able to sort of store that energy. I'm going to assume so. But it did kind of imply a little bit of a change in Angel in this particular movie, and the idea that, yes, technically at the very beginning, Aki is stuck with Angel, doesn't like him, does not like this new partner, super lazy, doesn't want to do anything. Well, if you don't work, they're gonna deem you as a threat and they'll kill you. That's cool. I want to die. I'll be curious to eventually get into more of why Angel so badly wants to die. I would assume it's because their power drained everybody in their city or their town, and thus they don't like themselves and they want to die. But it did imply at the very end that Angel does like Aki. And that's obviously seemingly because Aki saved Angel, pulled them from the typhoon, gave up some of his life in order to save Angel from that, despite the fact that Angel was perfectly fine with dying. I'm assuming that Aki went out of his way to save him just because He just got done seeing a bunch of his partners die, and he's like, I'm sick of seeing people die. He literally seen his friends dying twice because he's seen the future, and then he's seen him again. It's building a pretty cool little partnership there, which would be really cool in the idea that having Aki sort of being supplied with weapons by Angel as Angel is drawing it from people. It would be really cool. Outside of that, Beam was great. Again, like I said before, Beam was so great. I thought he was so obnoxious at the beginning, but like him coming in there to save Denji right after Reze first attacked him, just rushing by and picking him up. Chainsaw Sama, we gotta get out, here's the bomb. Again, it implies that Beam knows a lot. Beam knows Reze, knows about the bomb devil, knows about their tie with the gun devil. I think they said the gun devil specifically. He knows way too much. He knows a lot about Denji and what he is, and what the Chainsaw Man is. A lot of stuff that Makima apparently has told him that he's not allowed to talk about, which would make sense because of his ability. He's able to literally be able to sneak into anywhere. He's probably an informant of some sort using his abilities, but he's great though. I really enjoyed his character. Again, towards the later part, having him like divulge all this crazy stuff they could do with Denji, using his chains in different ways, and he literally just rides on top of Beam, and they just go sailing off in the combat. And Reze's like, "What the hell are you doing, Denji?" It was just so bonkers crazy. I loved it. Getting into Love Triangle specifically that this story kind of presents, I do think this is a really good like wake up call for Denji as a character. Again, he's obviously somebody that doesn't really get the nuances that most people get. The common sense, it really isn't there. Like at some point, Aki literally has to tell Denji, dude, wake up. She's tricking you again. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's right. You're not going to trick me. He's very dumb in a lot of regards. And again, there's a charm that I really like about his character. But I do like this whole little story arc here because it is the having somebody that's incredibly cute and very flirtatious is able to really easily capture Denji's heart. But there's also the thankful, safeguard, the fact that he's kind of dumb, that he doesn't really think about things the same way that most people do. Again, run away with me. No, I kind of like my job. I'm kind of advancing. I could provide for you. I can give you this. Just go away from this. No, I kind of like this. I finally got promoted. They're trusting me with stuff now. He's so simple-minded. But I do like this whole little story arc here because it is showing how easily Denji can be manipulated by people, despite the fact that he is this thing that they don't want people to have. They're after his heart, and that's kind of something that they don't want to be getting out there. So, gotta keep this boy in check. Keep power around him or something. But I love how they portray that build-up, and the idea that he's spending time with Reze at the school and everything, going to the pool, her just taking everything off. I'm actually surprised, again, that how much they wanted to show there, and they, again, technically showed a lot more than even what the manga did, a lot more of the different shots and whatnot in the pool. Just showing that sort of, there's that temptation there, sitting in the pool, and then eventually he just jumps in the pool to kind of signify that, whatever, let's just give it up. Let's just go and give it. He just finally gives himself in that temptation and just accepts it. It's pretty much like portraying it as if this is sort of him sleeping with Reze. The idea of him plunging into the bed is like him plunging in the pool, and then having that sort of afterwards, after they get dried off and he's sitting in the classroom and she goes off somewhere else, he's having that moment of like, but now I have this conflict because I like these two, and which one do I want? Which one do I want? Pochita, help me. Pochita, help me decide which one of these two girls I want. I did like that he went to each one of them. Here's Angel, but I heard that was a dude. Here's Power, but I kind of hate her. Oh, there's Komini, but she tried to kill me. It was good. I like that little conflict that he's having between the two, which is, yeah, interesting that eventually it does seem like he's choosing Reze. He wants Reze. That's the person he wants to go after. But in the end, he realizes, yeah, he's sort of being used. But despite that, he still likes her. In the end, he still likes her. He still wants to help her out, even though she keeps saying, dude, I will kill you. Why are you still accepting me? I will kill you. In the end, it does suck because by Reze going back to Denji at the restaurant, she's choosing him. That's the thing that sucks most about the ending, is that Reze is literally choosing to be with Denji. Despite her not wanting to, despite the story about, the Soviet Union and these children that were locked up, and her being some sort of guinea pig, she didn't want to accept this, but she was going to accept it, but then the spears fall from the heavens, and it's all over. It sucks. But again, I accept that. I think the thing that's most funny about this entire scenario is that perfectly well Makima's doing the same thing Reze's doing. That's the funny thing about it, is that literally doing the same thing that Reze is doing. They're both manipulating him in some way. Just one is, it's come to truth. it's come to fruition. It's been stated. Outside of that, though, really fantastic movie. Again, just so many great moments. The whole fight scene inside the building was fantastic. Training facility and the later skyscraper, those two scenes particularly were really cool. Again, riding on top of Bean, just shooting everywhere was hilarious. Just an absolute joyride. All the boom moments. I think they just knew the boom moments were going to be the key point, because every single time she does the boom, you got to have the audio cut and you have her sweet voice come in there with the boom, and then an explosion happens. They knew what they had and they played into it a lot. But overall, like I said, phenomenal movie. Really enjoyed it. And it has me really excited for more seasons. I forgot how much I really enjoyed Chainsaw Man, and this sort of got me sucked back into it. Wanting to see more of these devils, how they play into it with the characters and everything. Hopefully it doesn't take too long before we get another season here. But anyways, that's my review and my experience with Chainsaw Man, the movie Reze arc. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as always. Again, like I said earlier, sort of a different format than I typically do. I just want to talk. I just want to talk about it. Don't do it like a format or anything. Just want to talk about it. Hope you guys enjoy it. As always, if you like this content and want to support channel more, become a member of the channel. Until next time, you'll take care.